Today I'm going to be showing you my design for the virtual reality chamber that will be simulating the moon for colonist training. For our design criteria, we came up with 5 categories. Cost, which would be weighted as 1, variety, which would have a weight of 10, size, which would have a weight of 3, mobility, which would have a weight of 8, and user friendliness, which would have a weight of 5. Cost is just going to reference how much time and money it takes in order to create this design. Variety is going to reference how many things can be simulated and how many different senses does it utilize in the design. And then size is going to be in reference to how large the design is, where it can fit. So if it can fit in like a large room, a small room, a closet. And mobility is going to refer to the range of motion for the user, and user friendliness will be determined by how easy it is for someone to just come in and write a program for it or use the design. For my design, you're going to have a user hooked up to a regular VR system that we have currently running, so like 4K goggles, hand sensors, an omnidirectional treadmill, and the change is going to come by including a gravity simulating support system, which you can see outlined in white, which is going to apply a force to the backpack that the user is wearing, and that will simulate the moon's gravity. And it'll have a wiring harness which has those black boxes, and it's going to connect to the black belt around the user, and those are going to have enough tension to keep the ropes taut, and it will tell the computer when the user is moving in order to better use the omnidirectional treadmill. And then on the outside, you can see there's an obstacle generating conveyor belt, and that's going to move objects around the perimeter of the treadmill in order to be loaded onto the treadmill when the user approaches them in the VR world. And so the biggest step that this design is going to take is the computer is going to sync the VR that the user is using. So if the VR sees a box off in the distance, then if they see this box off in the distance in their goggles, then once the user moves towards that box, the obstacle generating conveyor belt will move it onto the treadmill, and then the box will stay on the treadmill until the user walks away from it, moving the box back onto the obstacle generating conveyor belt. Finally, for the design criteria, I rated my design on cost 10 out of 10 because the costs are pretty cheap relative to putting a colony on the moon. And then for variety, I gave it an 8 out of 10 because the ability to load obstacles onto the treadmill with the user gives it a large variety of uses. And then for size, I gave it a 6 out of 10 because it could fit into a small room, but definitely not a closet. For mobility, I gave it a 9 out of 10 because it allows for the user to move quite quickly with the wiring harnesses, and the gravity simulator allows for jumping, and the treadmill can adjust underneath it. And then for user friendliness, I gave it a 3 out of 10 because it really doesn't allow for an average person to come in. It takes quite a bit of training to create programs and to utilize the program. So all in all, it ended up with a 195 out of 270.